All right, welcome back. We're going to do some more sub videos. So this is our first guy. These are just going to be quick scans. I might miss a few things. Let me know if I do miss anything significant. But yeah, this is just what stands out to me as like a major flaw or major flaws that bring down the overall appearance the most. All right, so first things first, upper eyelid exposure. A little bit too much, and the eyebrows are slightly too high set. In general, we want a little bit of upper eyelid exposure. It's good. I think it adds complexity and layering to the eye area. People who try and get rid of their upper eyelid exposure completely, I don't think they fully understand how the eye area works. It's important to have this. However, you typically want the eyelid exposure itself to be no more than about 25% of the radius of the iris. So quite minimal. And in this case, it's slightly too much. And there's a little bit of asymmetry, so a little bit less on this side than this side, which is not really a problem. I think some asymmetry adds character to the face. However, in this case, we do want to reduce this upper eyelid exposure. Very small change here, but it's just a push in the right direction. How do you do this? Well, you want to release the frontalis muscle, because over time and over activation, this is going to pull the soft tissue upwards, causing asymmetry as seen, and also just pulling the eyebrows up and giving the upper eyelid more exposure. Self-massage, trigger point release, and just completely stop activating this muscle. The muscle raises the eyebrows, so if you find yourself raising your eyebrows more often than not, then just really make an active effort to stop doing this. And over time, the tension will reduce significantly and the soft tissue will slowly move back down. It's in these cases where you have everything sort of being pulled upwards. It tends to be both the eyebrows and the upper eyelid exposure, and that's when you can kind of know that the frontalis muscle is a little bit overactivated. You also want to train the orbicularis oculi muscle, and this is going to help to strengthen the muscle around the eye and also train the frown muscles as well, which are the corrugator supercilii, the depressor supercilii, and the procerus. And this is just going to help to pull down the inners of the eyebrows, which is going to give an increased positive tilt over time. So the next thing that stands out to me is the hair. And the hair is slightly flat, slightly boring. It doesn't really have much character. You're just going to blend in pretty easily with this hair. I suggest that you grow the hair out longer and you prioritize increasing the volume. So how do you do this? Well, you want to use sea salt spray on damp hair. You want to make sure you're not shampooing any more frequent than 5 to 7 days. Otherwise, you're just going to strip everything out of the hair. You can twist some strands whilst it's damp, and you should air dry or just scrunch with a t-shirt. And then if you want, you can add either a very light clay or some texture powder, and then you scrunch again. And it's just going to increase the overall density, the appearance of the density, and the volume of the hair. It's a really big improvement for you. And just avoid harsh chemicals with those shampoos. So chemicals like sulfates, parabens, and synthetic fragrances. But yeah, in general, the forehead looks quite big. So this is going to help to bring down the perceived size of the forehead. I don't really need to measure it to know that it's over 32 to 34%. So this just helps to balance your facial harmony quite significantly. So I should have done this at the start, but the lower third stands out to me as a significant flaw. In terms of facial composition, you don't have any bloating, no facial fat, tight hyoid skin. However, the masseters are slightly underdeveloped. And also, I noticed this is slightly less common, but the region where your submandibular gland is slightly swollen. And this could be just bloating. However, it could be a lymphatic issue with your submandibular gland. So just follow my free guide. It's helped a lot of people so far. It will help you with the jaw, the neck, and for the submandibular glands, just do some lymphatic drainage massage or potentially seek more specialized professional advice about this. Okay, so next, as mentioned with the eyebrows, they look slightly fearful due to the fact that you have a little bit too much lower lateral hair and not enough flatness on the top. So quick little change there. Just flatten the top. You can do this with trimming, shaving, and also just reduce the dip at the end here. Subtle improvement there. So finally, we'll just have a look at the moles here. So I think they're quite distracting. These smaller moles are good. They add character to the face, so just leave those alone. However, the bigger moles, a little bit too distracting. They bring attention away from the eyes and away from the good parts of the face. So I'd remove these, and also the lower eyelids look a little bit loose. So they're making your eyes a little bit less narrow, and narrow eyes are really important for guys. So you want to train the orbicularis oculi muscle, as mentioned previously. And you can do this by, you probably already know how to do it, but just for the new viewers, you just want to pull the skin away from the eye and do forceful blinks against that resistance. And try and squint as well. Narrow eyes are a very important masculine dimorphic trait. In all attractive faces, the lower eyelid is usually completely flat or near flat. So everyone should realistically try and get the eyelid as flat as possible. And yeah, you can do this with orbicularis oculi muscle training. I just could not get a realistic visualization for a short bit, but I think in your case, it would suit you slightly more than this 5 o'clock shadow type stubble. If you struggle to get rid of the swelling here, which does significantly reduce your appeal, I think a shorter beard would really help here. And also your filtrum is slightly longer than ideal, so covering this is going to be really helpful for you. So if we compare the before and the after, big increase in appeal here. So before, I'd say you're about a 5.5. So you are attractive, but you have low tier appeal. All right, so we'll move on to our next guy here. If you want to be in these videos, just send me an email because I might feature you. It's not guaranteed. There are a lot of people that send in emails. I've had a lot since the last video, so I'm doing my best to get through as many as I can. Okay, so this is our next guy, phase 1, so facial composition. In general, great facial composition. However, there's obviously the narrow jaw and the slightly thin neck. The neck neck is slightly longer than ideal. Adding width to this neck is going to help to reduce the overall perceived length of this neck. But yeah, low facial fat, low bloating, tight hyoid skin. Just follow the free facial composition guide. First link in the description. All right, so same with the other guy. We've got a little bit too much upper eyelid exposure here. It's slightly worse in this case. And the eyebrows are definitely quite high set here. As mentioned previously, just do the advice that I gave the last guy. So frontalis muscle, orbicularis oculi, and frown muscles. If you find that to be too much of a slow process, you can always consider upper eyelid fillers. I think it's always best to do the natural alternative before you consider cosmetic and surgical procedures. But in general, it's a good eye area. So yeah, very subtle. We want some exposure, but yeah, just bring it down slightly. And in an ideal world, it would be slightly less, but we're just trying to keep things realistic here. So I'm not going to just completely remove it. So the next thing that stands out to me quite big, the eyebrows in general. They're sparse in density. They have quite a large arch. They have a very noticeable tail, which is a very feminine trait. Obviously, as mentioned, I think feminine traits are good on a male face. However, in this situation where the eye area in general is not incredibly masculine, having a very feminine feature is just going to tip things too far out of balance. And there also is this perceived negative tilt here, which is not ideal. This is a really, really big improvement for you, like just massive. And you just got to dye. You want to trim the eyebrows, so just flattening the tops, reducing the very ends here, the lower laterals here. But it's a tricky one with you because you don't want to trim too much of the underneath part. As you can see, I've left a little bit just here and here. And there's a reason for this because your eyebrows are quite high set. So if you remove as much as you can from the lower parts here, it's just going to increase the perceived distance from your eyes to your eyebrows. And yeah, training the frown muscles is going to help to increase the positive tilt of the eyebrows. This is a massive improvement. And you can use minoxidil for 1 to 2 years or castor oil for 1 to 2 years and use microneedling as well to help to increase density. But the dye is a really, really effective way to increase the perceived density. I think there are some miscellaneous things that we can improve here. So looking at these lips, I mean, chapped, it's just unappealing. The eyes look slightly dull. The lower eyelids are slightly loose and the lower eyelashes are not very noticeable. They could be better. So you want to tighten the lower eyelids with orbicularis oculi muscle training, whiten the eyes with eye drops, improve sleep, increase vitamin A and vitamin C intake, and dye the eyelashes, the lower eyelashes here. You can use castor oil to thicken them up as well. And yeah, obviously just removing the chaplets with lip balm. But yeah, I think you have a good Cupid's bow here, with notable vermilion borders, which is really good. And you don't want to consume more than 50 milligrams of vitamin C per day. As you start to get in the higher range of vitamin C, the body starts to convert this vitamin C into oxalic acid or oxalates. As you may or may not know, oxalates are really, really bad for the body. Systemic inflammation, skin issues, acne, eczema, etc., etc. You don't want that. So really keep your vitamin C to a minimum and make sure it's natural, bioavailable vitamin C. All right, so the last change is the hair. This is a big one for you because your facial height to width is very, very small. It's about 1.5. Your midface is quite good actually, very close to 1:1. We're not going to increase the lip volume or try and reduce the philtrum because the philtrum is already a good size. So we want to increase the perceived head width here, and we do this with hair. And in general, I think it's a lot more interesting than just default cut. And also increasing the softness and the natural highlights of the hair are going to really, really increase your appeal as well. You should get it professionally thinned. Don't do it yourself. Thinning your hair yourself is definitely not a good idea. The facial height to width could be lens distortion. But yeah, you have good cheekbones. It could just be lens distortion, but I do recommend this hairstyle. You can use artificial highlights. Just make sure they're very natural looking. So yeah, looking at your before and after, a significant increase in appeal. So before, I'd rate you slightly more attractive than the last guy. So about a 5.75. So this is attractive. So this is an entire point above average on my scale. Low tier appeal, maybe low to mid tier. You could argue that. But yeah, attractive. Both of these subs are attractive, just in that low tier appeal.